please say hello to 6Kanter.
As a nature lover and photographer, I'm crazy for time in beautiful places where wildlife thrives. Places like Costa Rica, where I lead a class of U of I undergraduates on trips that include snorkeling on coral reefs, where we see fish more blue than the sky, and tours of the cloud forest, home of the resplendent quetzal. Places like Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado, where my family and I have camped and hiked the past couple of summers, where we watch elk calves cavort in the meadows and we had a bull moose walk through our campsite. But even in a good year, I spend 3 or 4 weeks in such places. Most of my time is spent here in East Central Illinois, being a husband and father and writer and teacher. And let's face it, getting out with a camera in a landscape dominated by urban development and cornfields can be pretty uninspiring. Neither habitat supports moose or tropical fish. But there's a little gem at the heart of this place, the Boneyard Creek, and the wild side of this creek has been greatly enhanced in recent years by developments that provide stormwater control and create wildlife habitat at the same time. I have the good fortune of passing through these developments multiple times most days as I bicycle to and from work, and when I walk from my office to appointments elsewhere on campus. What kinds of wildlife do these developments support? Long-distance shorebird migrants, like the solitary sandpiper pictured here, use the Boneyard Creek as a rest stop to catch their breath and feed. This bird was photographed in March on its way from Argentina, where it winters, to northern Canada, where it breeds. The Boneyard Creek and 2nd Street Basin also support some resident wildlife most people would never expect to see in town. 5 species of turtles have been observed there in recent years, including this spiny softshell turtle. Her top shell measures something like 18 inches from front to back, and if the basin had not been designed with a permanent pond, she'd never have lived among us. The same goes for the common snapping turtle pictured here. On a good day, you can stand on the overlook and see 5 or 6 of these beasts basking near the surface of the pond with just their noses above water. Some days, there seem to be more turtles than good rocks for basking. This pileup starts with the spiny softshell turtle on the left and includes painted turtles and red-eared sliders as well. You might also be surprised at the number of frogs that inhabit the busy parts of Champaign and campus, thanks to the naturalized developments on the Boneyard. I realize that I'm weird for caring about the difference between one kind of frog and another. But get this, I'm about to make you members of the club. See how that raised line coming back from the eye curls down around the ear so it looks like he's wearing glasses? That tells you he's a bullfrog. If caring about frogs is weird, I guess caring for snakes is even weirder. But it pleases me to no end that the landscaping around the Boneyard on campus supports a thriving population of plains garter snakes. How thriving? A couple of undergraduates I know caught and marked more than 90 individuals this spring. Among my friends when I was growing up, catching snakes was a regular activity, and it's one I'm happy to participate in again as a middle-aged guy on his lunch hour. Now that my oldest is a U of I student, catching snakes at lunchtime can even be a father-daughter activity. Now, if the reptiles and amphibians appreciate the developments along the Boneyard for the opportunities to bask, other critters there just want to grab a drink. The creature you see sipping nectar here is not a bee, and it's not a hummingbird. It's a snowberry clearwing, a type of moth. Until 3 weeks ago, I didn't know they existed, and then I found this one as I was stalking bumblebees among the native plants at 2nd Street. The 2nd Street Basin also offers some fantastic fishing opportunities, which are enjoyed mostly by birds that eat fish, such as this great blue heron. A great blue heron catches meals by standing so still that fish don't notice it, and it can grab them or stab them with that wicked bill. The approach taken by the belted kingfisher, pictured here, involves a little more drama. If you've ever seen the Australian bird called a kookaburra in a zoo, you may recognize her as its cousin. Rather than standing in the water, she looks down from a railing 25 feet above it. Then, when she sees a catchable fish, she launches herself from her perch and comes down to hit the water like a torpedo. If you're a golden shiner or some other kind of small fish that lives in the Boneyard 2nd Street Basin. This is not a sight you want to see. Because your next view may come from high in the branches of a tree. And after that, well, the further developments here were pretty grisly. The kingfisher spent nearly 5 minutes bashing the shiner against the branch to kill it before swallowing it whole head first. Circle of life right here in the middle of town. Of course, some Boneyard Creek residents are vegetarians, including the muskrat depicted here. This critter lived for a time in a den in the creek bank, just upstream from the bridge in the center of Scott Park. When it was hungry, it came out and swam to the nearest salad bar. To pick some fresh greens. The whole eating local thing is really big here. Now, the advertising for tonight's event does mention that adult content is a possibility, so you've got no grounds for complaint about this next thing. You see, in addition to being a great place to rest, and a great place to sunbathe, and a great place to grab a drink or to fish, the 2nd Street Basin is a great place to hook up. Especially if you're a creature with 2 antennae, 6 legs, and wings like these monarch butterflies. Monarchs, as many of you know, need all the help they can get right now, and landscaping that uses native plants, like that found in developments along the Boneyard, plays a greater role than ever in ensuring their survival. This final slide depicts Scott Park at its best. What you see here doesn't compare with the Caribbean or the Rockies, but it's beautiful in its own way, and it supports more wildlife than most people who pass it by will ever know. Stop and have a look for yourself sometime.